All right. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. My name is Tiffany. Thank you for joining me today. Today's video, we're going to talk about 5 things that have changed for the job hunting process for me. This is things that have changed from back when I started job hunting right after coding bootcamp to now. So it's different, right? So just getting out of a coding bootcamp is an entirely different job hunting process than it is now that I've been employed for about 3 years now as an engineer. And so things are a little different now. And I'd like to share those things with you now. If you are on the hunt now looking, and maybe you are a coding bootcamp grad, or maybe you don't have as much of experience, please continue to watch this video so that you can see the way that job hunting will hopefully change for you in your future as you continue to get more experience. Also, if you are an engineer with a few years of experience and you're trying to see like what things look like now, then stick around for that as well. So please continue watching for this video. So as always, I have notes. So if I'm looking down, it's because I have notes. So here we are. So the first thing, number one, this is a little different of experience for me before and now. So the first thing that has changed is recruiters, working with recruiters, talking with recruiters, getting recruiters to notice me, all things recruiter related. So back then, I could not get recruiters to like return messages back to me. Like I was like, oh man, like I really want this job. And I didn't have the experience. So reaching out to recruiters and then even perfecting a process on like how to do that. It used to be that recruiters would not answer my phone calls or my emails. And I'd be like, dang, but I really want this job. It didn't matter because they weren't going to answer it. Nowadays, though, recruiters call me or they reach out to me. So that's a different process, even though I've not ushered them to. So some jobs I have not even asked, like I didn't even apply. And then, they come back and say, hey, you want to apply to this job? Or they're like, hey, there's a position that you might be interested in. Let's talk about it. So it's much different process now. I had a recruiter the other week. I had started a job application process. Ultimately, their process was like forever. It was one of those things where you had to like, give your firstborn child. And I was like, I don't have one of those, so maybe I shouldn't apply. No, it was like a whole thing. They wanted all your information minus your social security number. But no, seriously, they had a long process, and the amount of experience they were looking for, like they were looking for someone with 10 years of experience, and they wanted you to talk about your 10 years worth of experience that you had. And I was like, oh, I don't have that. So I stopped the process. Because I was like, I don't have 10 years worth of experience. Next thing I know, I get a call from the recruiter and she's like, hey, I saw you start an application, but you didn't finish it. Let's talk. And I'm like, oh, but wait, what? I just assumed that nobody was going to reach out to me. I never thought that somebody would come back around, circle back and be like, yo, you didn't finish this. And then I told her why and all those things. And but she had a couple of other positions as well. Ultimately, they weren't positions that I was really looking for, but still, the fact that she called me back was just like, whoa, crazy. She called me back and she sent me a LinkedIn message too. So I was like, whoa, you're serious. So it's just an experience I've never had before in the past. So when I was first starting out looking for jobs. The second thing is, speaking of experience, I didn't have experience. So I didn't have a lot of professional experience is what I'm speaking of. So I had projects, but I didn't like personal projects that I could speak to in an interview process, or I could speak to on an application or a cover letter or something that would relate to the job the job description for the job I'm applying for. Like I didn't have that before. So I was just like, yeah, I've got this personal project and I can, it was just a lot of like hoping people would give me a chance. And in the same regard, it's kind of still that same way. Like I'm hoping that you take a shot on me, but at the same time, like I have more knowledge being here now. So, now it's I have more experience from past work experiences that I could speak to, and I could talk about those experiences and things I've learned, things that I would do differently. And so it's a little bit more of a fluid conversation when you could talk about your past work experiences, which is something I couldn't do before. So one thing I will say is to make sure that you're documenting your work experiences as you are coming across them, because it's very important. Like, I don't know if you realize this, but sometimes things happen and you might switch jobs, and so you might need, like, you might not remember an experience that you had at your job a year ago, so it's important to keep track of those things somewhere so that you can reach for them later, or even have a few big things that you've accomplished at your position that stand out to you so that you could speak to those experiences as well. The third thing that's different is, before, I was not too involved in the tech scene. And I didn't have a lot of people in my network. So I talked about networking in another video of mine. I will link to that above. But I would like to say it's so important. I will continue to speak on this because of the importance that it's had in my life, in my career specific. Your network is important. Before, I didn't have any kind of network of people in the tech industry. I just had the people that I went to coding bootcamp with, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to really expound your network and get involved with different groups, different communities, so that you can be plugged in, and so that those people can vouch for you, those people can be references for you, those people can help you speak good positive energy into you. You need those people in your life. So that was one of the things I did not have coming straight out of a boot camp. I didn't have that. I was just like, just kind of out here. I tried to get involved, but some of the meetups I was going to they weren't for me. They weren't my community of people. And I was just going to a lot of them, just kind of experience like being out there. But that's part of it. Like, you have to go out there and figure out which groups that you want to be involved with. So that's a very important part of the process. Now I have been involved with Women Who Code Network for the past few years now. I've built relationships there. And I have really been involved in tech scene outside of that. I do these YouTube videos, and so that, and then also beyond that, I'm involved in other different Slack groups. I'm in there sometimes, I'm talking, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'll make like comments on Twitter from people, or, I'll see something on Twitter that looks interesting, and that may lead me to another meetup, or you just never know. So these days I'm more in tune with the tech industry than I've been in the past, in my past before. And so it's definitely made things more different for me, especially when it comes to like working, finding jobs, and just being out here and just being able to talk to people that are in the same area that you're in, and can really be like, you know what, I had that experience too, or no, I have not come across that before, like, tell me more about that. So it's very important. The fourth thing is, before, I was trying to figure out which jobs boards to look on, like, where do I go to find a job? I was doing the basic ones. So I was on like Career Builder and Monster and Indeed and, those sorts of things. I was like, all right, this is where you find jobs at, because I didn't know about anything else. And maybe there wasn't, maybe these job boards didn't exist. Like, other job boards didn't exist, during that time. But that's what I was kind of looking into. And I was looking less to people and looking more to like job boards, like where thousands of people are applying, and people aren't really paying attention to that. They're like, oh, you're just another number, and they might weed you out if you don't have a cover letter. If your cover letter doesn't say specific words, you don't know what the words are, but if they didn't have these words on them, then you're out. So nowadays, looking for jobs is a little bit more different, generally speaking, is because I again have the network piece that I spoke about before, but in addition to that, I also have other job boards that I look towards. So there's so many more job boards that have been created these last few years, which is amazing. So now you have jobs specifically geared towards groups of people in tech, and then not only that, you have job boards directly specific specifically targeted to different technologies. So there's a Laravel job board, which is specifically for Laravel. So if I wanted to work in Laravel, I can go to Laravjobs and just look on there for jobs. Women Who Code has their own job board. So if you're a Women Who Code and that community within, any of the meetups and any of the networks that are globally around, then you can go on the job board and look for certain jobs and apply to jobs there. There's also like a Black Tech Pipeline. They have a job board. There's a People of Color job board, People of Color in IT job board. Like, there's a lot of these job boards that exist that may not have been existing before, or they weren't as prevalent as they are now. And so finding those little nuggets along my journey has really helped me, because it's been able to help me find other jobs that I may not have known about before, which is amazing. So some of those job boards have jobs from like Spotify or Netflix and stuff like that. So things like that I like, I probably can't reach that right now, but this is something I can look forward to in the future, So it's one of those things where I didn't really know about lots of things. In addition to like the companies that you may have heard of that are now, coming to, wanting to bring more diverse talent to their team through various job boards and through different various networks of groups. You also have positions that you didn't even know about, like even from like small startups to like mid-sized companies that maybe you haven't known about, different industries. All these things are available at your fingertips now because, different job boards are out there. So that's been very helpful to me. And the only way that I know about these is that I've just been, again, getting involved in the tech scene more, looking at more stuff, wondering to myself, is there a job board out there that is just for people of color, that is just for Black people, that is just for women, or do these things exist? And then being in those rooms that, and I say rooms, I mean like meetups. So being in those meetup groups and they talk about these different resources that are available, and if I wouldn't have showed up, then I would have never known about it. So it's important to plug yourself in. It just kind of goes back to that networking piece. The fifth thing that has changed, a little different, which is kind of, not, it hasn't changed. Imposter syndrome. So starting out in the job hunt, I was like, I don't know anything. Like, I suck. It's bad. Like, I don't know. I think this is how it works, but I'm not sure. And I was very unsure of myself. And I'm finding a lot of that has to do with like being in a different industry, not knowing what people are looking for. Also, if you're utilizing different languages, like for me, when I was coming out of the coding bootcamp, they taught us 3 different coding languages. And so it was like, okay, which one is this job looking for? Do I know enough? I don't feel like I'm confident here, but I've seen this code before. I've made projects in this before, but I'm not confident about it. And so that's where a lot of the imposter syndrome has come along. Now, I still have imposter syndrome. It doesn't go away. It's just a little different now. So, I think to myself, okay, I don't suck. I just kind of think of it as, hey, maybe this isn't for me right now, but maybe it's something that could be for me in the future if I just continue to work towards it. So it's the attitude of it. Don't get me wrong. There's still things I don't know. Okay, I don't know all the coding languages out there. I don't know a lot about Python, right? So, but it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, it's intimidating. It's scary. And if you have to go into an interview room, or if you have to code an exercise during the job hunting process and a coding challenge, and you don't know the language that you're using, that's crazy. That's scary. And it's okay to feel intimidated by that. Like, that's a real scary thing for anybody who doesn't know the language. But it's like, okay, taking that and saying, okay, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to continue forward? Am I going to go out there and figure out how I can learn these things? For me, I go watch videos. I also like to go and write code itself so that I'm able to like actually type it out, see how it's supposed to be lined up, different ways that code is structured, that sort of thing. So being in the process right now, I still have my moments, and I have interviews I flubbed and discussions I failed on because words maybe didn't come out how I wanted them to come out, or maybe I was trying to figure out how to make this code work and I don't really know what I'm doing here. So it's just moments of feeling inadequate and not feeling like I know much. But at the end of the day, you could only do the best that you can do and just be positive and move forward from there. So, with that being said, thank you all for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful for you. Hopefully it gave you some motivation. Hopefully it helped you to understand that you're right where you need to be. You just got to keep working at it, keep moving, keep making things happen. I know it's tough out there finding a job. Like, it's not easy. You have to, a lot of times you're in multiple interviews and these interviews last for hours and you're just like, why? But it's all a part of the process, and just, keep after it. I really do hope that some of these things will help you out in your process and hopefully give you some hope as well, if you're not, depending on what stage you're at in the process. So keep on keeping on. I will see you all in another video. Until then, please stay safe, everybody, and have a lovely day. Bye.